Much like Elon Musk, Mark Zuckerberg's days are packed with meetings, decision-making, and interviews. So, naturally, he has to be very smart about his time management and has a team of assistants to help him keep the ship known as Meta sailing smoothly. In order to help him balance his work and personal life, Mark Zuckerberg eliminates non-essential choices from his life and sets some seriously ambitious personal goals. What he considers non-essential decisions might really surprise you. The man with a current net worth of 116 billion US dollars, daily schedule includes exercise, family time, and lots of travel. Lots and lots of traveling. Let's take a look at a typical day in the life of Mark Zuckerberg. A day in the life of Mark Zuckerberg is a whole lot different from what it was pre-Facebook. Back in 2003, Zuckerberg, a carefree student, started a small online service while at Harvard University for students to judge the attractiveness of their fellow students. Soon after, he teamed up with a few friends to remake the service and used the same online address to create the Facebook. It blew up overnight, quite literally, and made Zuckerberg one of the richest men on earth. Obviously, his daily routine now is far from the one he followed in 2003, though at the same time, it's not quite as hectic as you might think. Something most of us have in common with the social media mogul is checking our Facebook accounts first thing in the morning. For us, it's a way to see what has happened while we slept, but for Zuckerberg, it's more of a business move. He reportedly gets up no later than 8 a.m. every morning, and then immediately grabs his phone to check Facebook, Messenger, and of course, WhatsApp. He does this even before putting in his contacts. If everything checks out, which most mornings it does, Zuckerberg gets up to work out. He is known to go for a quick morning run along with his entourage of personal bodyguards, of course. The man behind Facebook can never be too serious about his personal safety, you know. While he admits that he doesn't work out 7 days a week, he says he tries to get some form of exercise at least 3 times a week. It is something that he swears by and says that being healthy and energized helps him get through his busy days, and it helps him to stay on top of his game. As soon as he returns from his run, which sometimes he'll do with his beloved Hungarian sheepdog named Beast, he sits down for breakfast. Does he have a set breakfast every day? No, since he doesn't like wasting his time on what he calls small decisions or non-essential choices, he'll have whatever comes to mind, usually something that's quick and easy. Another small decision in his mind is choosing what to wear every day, hence the casual look, consisting of jeans, sneakers, and a gray t-shirt. His employees have fondly dubbed it his work uniform. But let's be honest, when you're the CEO of Meta, do you really have to wear a suit and tie every day? Plus, if you think about it, we really do waste quite a bit of time standing in front of our cupboards every morning while we decide what to wear. It might sound like such a small thing to eliminate from your life, but if you can eliminate several small decisions, then surely you'll have a lot more free mental space and time to focus on what's really needed. In order to help him stay on track and avoid just about any other small decision, Zuckerberg's home is kitted out with a custom-made artificially intelligent assistant. Speaking of assistants, did you know that he has as many as 12 social media assistants? They apparently keep track of his social pages, to make sure the internet trolls are kept at bay. Can you imagine being on that team of moderators? They must sign some pretty serious non-disclosure agreements. As soon as he gets to work, he hardly ever sits down. At work, he is constantly in and out of meetings and brainstorming sessions. While he might only spend a modest 50 to 60 hours at work per week, the fact is, he never really stops working. Thanks to a lot of the innovation he has brought to the table, Zuckerberg is constantly working from wherever he is. He says that he is always thinking of new ways in which to improve and serve the communities around the world. It is something he considers an amazing position to be in, serving billions. While he is undoubtedly one of the busiest and most hardworking entrepreneurs on the planet, Zuckerberg has a few things he always makes time for. But before we do tell you more, remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons. Actively raising and being part of his 2 daughters' lives is one of his biggest priorities. In December 2015, Zuckerberg and his wife, Priscilla Chan, welcomed their first daughter, Maxima Chan Zuckerberg, and in August 2017, their second daughter, August Chan Zuckerberg, was born. After Maxima was born, he actually took off 2 months from work. He called it parental leave. So, whether he is at home or traveling, he makes time for them, and apparently tucks them into bed each night with a traditional Jewish prayer, the Misharibach. It goes a little something like this: "May the source of strength, who has blessed the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing." This also means that unless he is traveling, of course, Zuckerberg always tries to be home in time for dinner. He also enjoys expanding his mind, and he reads a lot. Back in 2015, he challenged himself to read a new book every 2 weeks. In fact, he not only set himself this challenge, but he actually started a book club in which a book was studied and discussed every 2 weeks. And we're talking less fantasy reading and more inspiration reading. A few of the books he has read and highly recommends include Creativity Inc., a book for managers who want to lead their employees to new heights. The Rational Optimist. It's a bold and provocative interpretation of economic history, written by Matt Ridley, the New York Times best-selling author of Genome and the Red Queen. Why Nations Fail, a book that conclusively shows that it is man-made political and economic institutions that underlie economic success, or of course, the lack thereof. And lastly, The End of Power, written by an award-winning columnist and former foreign policy editor, Moises Naim. This book illustrates the struggle between once dominant megaplayers and the new micropowers challenging them in every field of human endeavor. Hardly what we would call light reading. Then there is his sixth language. He also speaks Mandarin, and by that we mean he properly speaks the language. In 2014, he completely stunned Chinese students when he led a half-an-hour discussion in Mandarin. Very few people know this, but Zuckerberg also speaks Latin, French, Hebrew, and Ancient Greek. Mind blown! Mandarin is one of the hardest languages to learn, and while his wife Priscilla might have Chinese roots, she is American, so why would he want to learn the language? Not to join in on conspiracy theories here, but experts from all over seem to agree that it's because he eventually wants to conquer China, one of the only countries in which Facebook is completely banned. The other two are Iran and North Korea. But since he is so keen on keeping his mind challenged, we're just gonna go with that as a reason. Unless, of course, he starts learning Korean and Persian, then we'll know something's up. Plus, he himself says he learned it because his in-laws speak it, and partly because learning a language helps one understand a country's culture. So, when he's not reading or working on his Mandarin and he's not in the office, actively working on his metaverse, what does Zuckerberg do? He travels a lot. During his travels, he has met with some of the biggest world leaders, such as Pope Francis in 2016, French President Emmanuel Macron in 2018, and former US President Donald Trump in 2019. In 2017, though, he embarked on an extensive tour of the US. Many people were convinced that he was starting up a career in politics. Whether it's a good or bad thing, he wasn't launching a campaign. We can't say. But we do see great changes in the future for Meta, and while we have a lot of suggestions for him in his quest to serve communities around the globe, we think it's probably best to leave that to the professionals.